What's up, everybody? You know what this is AJ. This is AJ's Political Views. I want to welcome everybody to AJ's Political Views, where we connect people with life and politics. If I look tired, I am. I'm a little tired tonight, everybody, but I thought maybe I'd just come and do a video. I heard about this Tayk trial that just took place of this young man who is going to be doing 80 years because of crimes that he committed. And also, I want to talk about briefly a case that took place, I think it was somewhere time, maybe early last year, maybe mid last year, with a young man by the name of, I believe his name is Tracy Haynes. He was 17 years old. It happened sometime last year. This happened in Wilmar Hutchinson High School in Dallas, Texas. He turned himself in and he did a video that I had an opportunity to watch, pretty much explaining why he committed the crime that he committed. And I think he was being bullied, and his life was being threatened, and he had lost his mother, his grandmother, and his family. It seemed based on the video that he was that I seen about him. He was talking about all the different people that had been unalived and buried in his family, and he did not want that to happen to him. He did not want his family to have to bury another person, and so that, you know, it caused him to, he felt like he was defending himself by going back to the school and did what he did, which I don't condone that. I don't condone that any young man or woman start doing crime based on the pressures of life. I think that we all have been there as regards to life. I've been there. I've been younger before. And I tell a lot of our youth, listen, we all been there before. When you have someone that is older, whether they be of your parents' ages or your parent age or older or younger, you have to understand that we were young too. And that's why sometimes we talk the way we talk, and we try to encourage, motivate, and we try to give warnings because we've been there too. Unfortunately though, young people, a lot of them don't really listen to us. And they don't listen to us because they don't trust us, they don't believe in us, and they have doubts in the things that we say. They don't really realize that we see what's happening before it even shows up at your door. These two young men, one who had been committing crimes since he was 16, that's Tayk, I think younger, 15, 16 years old. And this other young man who is 17 out of Texas, who felt like he had no choice. I don't know what we need to do. I really don't have an answer to how we need to address or confront the problem that is happening in our communities when it comes to young men, as it relates to trying to steer them away from getting involved in crimes. But I do know that the hip hop industry needs to start taking responsibility. Yeah. Because do y'all realize that even while this gentleman, Tayk, was committing acts of crimes, that he actually got a record label to sign him when he was a running fugitive and was allegedly to have unalived several people. And even if there wasn't any unaliving involved, but he was yet committing crimes, why would a record label sign a criminal? Just like why would America endorse and vote into office a criminal as president? This is a pattern, folks. There is no integrity, no character, no morals. Nobody's being held accountable for their crimes and their deeds. And individuals that should not be locked up are paying the price for real criminals. When you're innocent and you're not committing any crimes and you're trying to do the right thing and you're working, you're minding your own business, you're taking care of your family, you're doing what a law-abiding citizen should do, you're the ones that's dragged out of your house, locked up, or either unalived in the streets for absolutely nothing, as criminals go free and get signed to labels. So this is bigger than just parents, even though parents are responsible, because these young men, no doubt, had challenges at home. And because I don't know their history, except for I did kind of look back on some of the Tayk information as regards to how he grew up, and And I'm not going to go into details about that, but he did not have a great childhood because he ended up in the foster care system, in which I talk a lot about the foster care system and how it is not good for our children to be in that system. But I do know that he was in the system. And then to speak on the other young man who videotaped his reasoning for pew-pewing several students at his high school was to protect themselves, because apparently, based on what he said, is that his life was being threatened by these individuals. And he was afraid that they were going to unalive him. And so he thought maybe he would take the initiative to beat them at their own game. It is not good when our young men and women feel like their backs are against the wall till they have no other option than to break the law. And there seems to be desperate memes that are going on in the music industry now, where individuals of power in that area are seeking other ways to make their money, being that they're losing money in many ways when it comes to the industry. I mean, music doesn't sell anymore. You don't make money selling albums and CDs, and it's all about streams now. You don't make a whole lot of money with streams unless you're very popular and people like you till you're doing millions and millions and millions of streams. You're not going to make no money there either. And so what you have is certain record labels that have gone to extremes to sign young men and women from the streets, from areas, the most dangerous areas in this country. And it seems as though our black young men and women are the ones that are being targeted to release this type of music. And not only to release that type of music, but literally to live the lifestyle as well. The other part of it is that there is a fan base that gravitates to violence and criminality. And you wonder why certain political officials are being praised even in the midst of their crimes. It's become normalized. The things that we thought, the things that our parents taught us against has become normalized. It's normalized to commit crime. It looks good. It makes you look strong. It makes you look more like a man. It makes you look big and powerful. It gives you masculinity. Now, a person is not masculine, the ones that commit crimes. I have 2 sons. And I always spoke to them about staying out of a system that does not protect them. It is not designed to protect people that look like me. Because once you get in it, it's hard to get out of it. Because they're going to find other ways to keep you in it. Listen, we have celebrities that have a record. Now, you may not hear about it anymore, but they got a record because they too have broken the law, as they quote, in their past. Was on the block, doing what they do in the streets. I haven't had the perfect life. As a young man coming up, it wasn't easy for me, but I did have a mother that I believed loved me, and a grandmother, and that loved me, and some male figures that I sought out, positive figures, that I respected as I was a young man. And growing up in the church, I think, I talk a lot about religion, and sometimes I may say some things that may not be well received when I talk about religion, but one thing I could truly say about church and religion is that as I think back on being a young teenager, and as I think back when my grandmother used to take me to a church, when I was a toddler, a little young man, and I grew up, and, we went and they talked about love, and they talked about values and respect. And although I thought they got a little bit too much into your personal lives, it was about integrity and character at the end of the day, right? And because I had that, I avoided anything that seems to be dark, gloom, and dangerous. It helped me avoid the worst parts of life when it comes to breaking laws or causing havoc on other people's lives, or doing bad things to people. And that's because I believed in a God and a deity, right? I believed in something that was bigger and greater than myself. I believed that there was a punishment for my actions. And so I was more reluctant to do anything that was bad because I believed that there was something greater than me that was going to punish me if I did something bad. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what's missing with a lot of young people today, is that the missing of any form of spirituality, till they fear that spirituality. They fear that deity. They fear that God. I'm not talking about a human being. I'm not talking about a preacher, a pastor, or apostle, or these individuals that gives themselves titles and people, prosperity preachers. No, 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 no. I'm not talking about fearing man. I'm talking about fearing a God, a deity. But you got to believe that they exist before you can fear them. And I think what's going on is that a lot of young people don't believe that there is a God that exists. That a lot of young people don't believe that there is a deity that exists. And so if you don't believe it exists, then why would you fear it? I mean, let's be honest. You have people who are atheists that don't believe in that, right? And that's their faith and that's their belief. They believe in themselves for the most part, right? And you have people that call themselves gods. Well, if you are a God, then what does that look like? What does that represent? And what are you telling yourself when it comes to character and integrity and life? What is self saying to self? I mean, there has to be some type of connection to something that's greater within you. If you say that you are a God and that you believe in yourself, then what is within you to keep you in a place of peace, in a place of harmony, in a place of love, empathy, where you have empathy and compassion for other people? Is that if you believe that there is a God in you, I'm a God, right? And so, do you talk to yourself? Are you praying to yourself? Are you speaking to yourself? And if you are, then what is self saying to self when it comes to life? And how do you navigate, through the areas of where there's dark streets and danger, and how do you navigate through pain and sorrow and obstacles, and how do you cross bridges, and how do you find peace, love, and harmony? How do you do that with the God that is within you? Some kind of way we have to convince our young people the importance of having some type of connection with a deity or a God. However way you choose to worship that deity or God, or acknowledge, because worship is acknowledging. That's really all it is. It's acknowledging that it exists, right? And that is a part of who we are as a people, as being Black people in America. That is who we are. It is important that we acknowledge something greater than ourselves so we can stay in tune with those things that are good and righteous, those things that represents basic human characteristics that connect us to character and integrity and morals. When I think of a young man who is 17 years old, who was bullied in school, and felt like that he had no other option than to break the law, that means there is a disconnect from any form of spirituality. Because, unfortunately, many of our young men mention God, but they don't know God. They're mimicking other people. They don't really know what it means. It just sounds good because everybody else is saying it. They see the individuals that they look up to. They get on very award shows and concerts and things. And the first thing they hear them say is, I want to thank God. And so it just become a natural trait because they notice that everybody get applaud when they say that. It's like you get a major acknowledgement and applaud whenever you give God credit, right? But how many people really mean that when they do it? How many are really sincerely giving thanks to, and do they really believe it? Or is it just another promotional ploy? Young people find themselves mimicking people in whom they respect or somebody that they want to be like. It seems like a good thing to do, a popular thing to do. It seems like it'll get me one step ahead if I acknowledge that something exists other than myself. But do I believe it? What is it that our young people are in a position or in a place where they feel like that it's better for them to go and purchase arms that can do damage to their fellow brothers and sisters in the street to protect themselves than seeking out another alternative. Why it always has to be the worst before they seek or try anything else. And I don't know if this young man tried anything else, but it doesn't seem that way. He was afraid. The atmosphere that we're dealing with right now, it's a lot of fear, right? And people, when they're afraid, they get desperate, and they don't think things through. They just randomly make decisions. We are losing our young men and women out here in these streets, and they are the future. They are the future. As a parent, let me come from a parent point of view, and then I'm going to end this video. As a parent, I've always talked to my sons. I've always had conversations with them about life, right? About do's and don'ts. And they know that their dad is not perfect. Because if I was perfect, maybe I would still be with their mother. So they know I'm not perfect. They know their mom is not perfect. And there may have even been times when they question if we loved them. But how and why would they question that? Don't necessarily mean that we did anything bad or terrible to them. But it could mean that things did not turn out the way that they expected things to turn out. You know what I mean? I mean, here I am, I got my dad in the house, I got my mom in the house, and suddenly that don't exist anymore. And I wasn't expecting that. Because I miss my dad. Or I miss my mom. But now I got to face the reality that they're not here anymore. They're gone off to live their life somewhere else, and now they're going to forget about me. They're not going to love me the same way. They're not going to do the same things that they used to do for me because they're no longer here with me. And I take responsibility for that. I've always taken responsibility for that. And I've had conversations with my sons regarding that and made them aware that I am sorry. I apologize for that because you deserve better. But unfortunately, it didn't work out. And it was better for us to part than to stay together. I went my way, she went her way. But we maintained respect for one another. That's what we did. There was some bumps here and there, some misunderstandings here and there. But the end result is we came to an understanding that our kids were more valuable to us. And that we had to maintain a sense of respect for one another so they can have something to look at. When they speak to me, I speak nice of her. I ask how she's doing. When they speak to her, vice versa. Something's got to give. And what that is, I think that generations need to start coming together and having these type of conversations in our communities. Generations need to come together. They need to have, they're having all these different type of conferences, women conferences, men conferences, youth conferences, and everybody's divided. No, we need to have a people's conference